Hello, welcome back to the Red Path. Just wanted to put out a quick video going over some initial thoughts I've had based on the new World Eaters leaks, of course, based on the information we've received that's probably true about the Lord Invocatus. Go ahead and watch Jack's video from Friday, I think, Thursday or Friday, one of the days recently, about the Invocatus leaks for a full breakdown there, or, come and join the Discord and have a look. But I wanted to give some thoughts I've had on how our deployment is going to best utilize the upcoming rules. Obviously, the Lord Invocatus Warlord trait allows him to move himself plus 2 other units to make a normal move pre-game, and then in addition he gives +2 to core units movement or advance during the movement phase. So something I've been thinking of is how to best use that with the core units we have available. Some of the big ones are obviously Berserkers. I'm not sure if 8-bound or Exalted 8-bound. I'm just using Exalted in this demonstration. And Contemptors for me are the key units that we'll want to get that movement shenanigans out of. Now, I'm not throwing on Berserkers here because with their movement 6, they'll have a niche play for it for sure. But I'm thinking of some actual sort of like beginning strategies on how to best use it. So I want to go over that. So I can't put auras up here, unfortunately, because it's not a true yellow scribe army. I've just manually typed in the details for the units. So anyway, here's my deployment, right? I've obviously made what would typically be a pretty bad deployment based on current rules. I've got my Warlord and 2 Contemptors front and center, quite vulnerable. If I'm facing Votan or Tau or something, they're like, oh my god, this is beautiful. Great firing lane to kill 3 very key targets. Then I've got my infantry, my killie infantry, quite well hidden over here. Obviously, there will be ways for the opponent to get lines of sight if they've got fast shooter units, but for the most part, this is what it is. So the reason why I've made these 3 units vulnerable where they are, and then 2 units of 8-bound or Exalted 8-bound over here hidden, is because this allows me to deploy in such a way to use my Warlord trait, but be aggressive regardless of going first or second. So if I go first, both of these units are within 9 inches. So if I go first, these guys are going to get a pre-game move of 9 inches, something like that. Now, my opinion is, and this may differ from other people, is that the +2 to movement doesn't apply in the pre-game because pre-game isn't a phase, and the +2 ability of the Lord Invocatus does say +2 till the end of the phase, but it'll probably need an FAQ, or maybe the actual wording will be fully tightened up. We'll see. So I think they only get a normal move, so I'm going to play it as in these 2 units get a 9-inch normal move. And the Invocatus, of course, can come up himself, 12. So he'll just go more or less in a straight line up here, something like that. And then these 2 guys are still within, what is it, 6 inches or 9 inches? Probably good to check that kind of information beforehand. And I'm just double checking it now. Okay, and we don't know. I think it may be 6 inches. Either way, so you'd position him in a way so both units are within 6 inches, or whatever the aura is, doesn't really matter. So these guys now, they get an 11-inch normal move, and assuming there's no advance or charge, they'll get, okay, we're going to have to do this a few models at a time to get them in a legal position. Oh, brilliant. Look at the map. All right, let's just pretend they can get there. Okay, this is just an example. So now they get an 11-inch normal move, something like that. God, TTS. One day you'll be good. Okay, so now that's 20 inches of movement, which should leave us about 4 inches. We'll pretend that's 4 inches from the deployment zone. And yep, the opponent may have deployed back here. That's fine. So in this situation, maybe we'd stage just behind this wall or something. Or if they've left something out here because they needed to get the objective, we've got a pretty decent charge. And of course, the Invocatus, he's going to move 12 inches now. So he's right on the line. And he should have, a pretty healthy spread of charge targets here. So that's pretty nice. Now, the reason, we'll go back to the beginning here. The reason the Contemptors and Invo were where they were is if we go second, These guys, because I've actually equipped these with a fist and a melter for an alternative go first play, which I'll show in a minute. But if we go second, well, we don't want to be vulnerable. So these guys will just make a normal move of 8 inches back behind obscuring. Or they could come up here into cover, whatever you want to do. And, you know, old Invo boy with fly, he can just come and sit something over here. Protected, everyone's safe. No one has got an easy line of sight. I mean, you know, there might be an angle here, but you're going to check this stuff perfectly when you do it. So we've gone from a very vulnerable posture to now we're well hidden. We're in a good spot. Now the Contemptors, you know, going second, they're going to suffer unless maybe you want to throw Volkite on there, which honestly might be a better choice, but I'm thinking Melter at the moment. And the reason for that is you go first, and it depends on the type of army. You get your pre-game move. These guys are going to get a pre-game of 8, like this. We'll throw old boy up here. Then they're going to get a normal move of 10, because they will definitely get the +2 now. So they'll come up here. You know, Invo comes over as well. These guys now, depending on angles and what the enemy have got, there's going to be a vehicle somewhere vulnerable. It may not be easily, you know, within 12 inches for the D6 +2, but you're going to get 2 multi-melters from Contemptors, which you could potentially buff. We don't know exactly for sure what we're going to have access to, but maybe there'll be a way to give them reroll 1s to hit or +1 to hit. We just don't know. But 2 multi-melters on Contemptors right up in your opponent's grill is pretty nasty. In addition, they will be able to at least roll a charge in most situations. Whether they make it or not is irrelevant, because that's 2 Contemptors which are pretty tough to kill. So if they make a charge, you know, something tucked behind this wall over here, Invocatus comes over here, this guy makes a 6 or 7 inch charge over here. You've got now 3 pretty tough units destabling your enemy. Contemptor Fists are obviously really good at clearing elite infantry, monsters, vehicles, that sort of stuff. Invocatus looks like he's going to fuck up anything he touches. So you do have alternative ways to use this, and especially with the Contemptors, in my opinion, having core and being a decent shooting platform, you could run 2 Volkite Contemptors here and get them, you know, you're getting them a good angle with 18 inches of movement turn 1 if you go first. Whatever you want to do. It also has the added benefit, by placing here, it may lure your opponent into, you know, putting heavy targets here, because they think, oh, okay, these guys have got a, you know, 34 inch threat range, whatever. So that's not too bad. I can handle a couple of melters. So if I just deploy back here, great. Now, there is a bit of gotcha in there, but as long as you're explaining your rules with pre-game moves and stuff beforehand, if they make a mistake, they make a mistake. So then suddenly, once you've moved 18 odd inches, that thing that they thought was going to kill them is not going to kill them now, because it's probably going to get killed by all the multi-melter, or they come back and hide, and it's now vulnerable. Admittedly, if they go first, of course, they just position it where they want, but you don't give them any easy targets, because you're now fully obscured, hidden, and they're like, oh great, I'm sat back, I can't move as far up as I wanted to, my board presence is limited because, you know, my World Eater's opponent just explained how everything can get like a 20 inch move turn 1, and I'm really freaked out. So you can use that pre-game move, even if you're not defensive. You can use it to stage, you can use it to come and grab an objective in the center like this, even if you're just using it to shuffle up a couple of inches so you're ready on the next turn for these guys to, you know, make their normal, well, it'd be an 11 inch move if you use the Invocatus, and then they've got a nice, you know, well, it's an 8 or a 9 inch charge probably onto whatever's on that objective. But yeah, I just wanted to throw some thoughts down on how we can start thinking about how we're going to use our pre-game move now on core units, because I'm fairly certain, not 100%, but I'd say 90% certain that the Invocatus datasheet is accurate. And we know it's going to affect, or fairly well know it's going to affect, core units such as Contemptors, such as Berserkers, probably one of the 8-bound units, and there may be some more options. Well, Terminators, of course, will be applicable to that as well. But being slow, I think any Terminator play we do have is going to go back to being Deep Strike, in my opinion. They are now faster, or they will be faster than our current Terminators, but we will be lacking Illusory Supplication and the Black Rune and potentially Red Butchers. So the things that made them very, very strong takes in the current meta for us are going away. So I'm thinking the best use for them is going to be like a couple of MSU Terminators that can drop in the back corners in rounds 2 or 3, things like that. Depending on what you're facing, you know, even strategic reserve in a unit of Terminators isn't awful because they can just come in if, you know, your opponent is alpha striking you or something, and they can come in and auto make the charge. But whatever, that's by the by for right now. So yeah, I just wanted to throw this out there because I want to get everyone thinking about ways that we can really maximize these incredible looking buffs with the pre-game move and the +2 to move to really benefit us in board presence, in aggression, but also in the psyops, because anyone who knows me knows that's one of my favourite things about 40k is winning that kind of mental battle. And I've always felt that World Eaters really have a strong position with that, kind of like the anti-Tau. Like you go up against a Tau player, you're like, oh fuck, here we go again. Going to get shot off the board turn 1, even if it doesn't happen. Right, but that's a common mentality that we have as players, especially if you're a combat army player. And equally, other players, when they see the full rules reveal for World Eaters, as we can expect it, go, oh my god, this is such a brutal Alpha Strike army. Already in their head, they're thinking about, you know, backlining their deployment, thinking about how we're going to be aggressive. Well, we don't have to play to Alpha Strike them. We just have to play to win the game. So if they're backlining and being very defensive, that does allow us, you know, good positions to get tough units to really maximize primary early on. If we're just doing something like this in the first turn, you know, hold on, let's get with it. I'm holding 3. I've got 2 very tough to shift units on the center. And if they've backlined, they're unlikely to get any combat assets over to counter this. They may have some stuff obscured, in which case they're baiting a charge from us, which is great. It's pretty tough to shoot 2 Contemptors to death. Not saying it can't be done, but that would give us in round 2, that would give us our 12. That's what we want. You know, in this particular mission, that's how you win the game. Not necessarily by killing everyone, although I wish it was, and maybe our secondaries will enhance that. But yeah, okay, so I'm starting to ramble now. Like I said, I want this to be an opportunity for everyone to start thinking about the kind of jank, the kind of psyops, the weird interactions we are potentially going to get with +2 to move and advance from the Invo Lord, plus the Warlord trait of a pre-game move, of a normal move for core units, including the Contemptor. Probably one of the versions of the 8-bound Berserkers, Terminators, and whatever else we get access to. Alright, so that's that for this one. Stay healthy, stay safe, and kill main bird.